The point of this new video series was to use humor as a vehicle through which we review Big Ten football games played on the weekend prior to recording.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to Big Ten Week 10 preview, teamrivalry.com. Because that's who we are. I am your host, Cliff Richardson. This is our commentator extraordinaire, Mackenzie. How you doing over there, buddy?
I'm good. I had like 3 different jokes about it. We could be rivalry team because we forget what week it is. It's still week 9 for me. I feel like just spiritually, I'm in a place where it's still week 9. I don't know why. Yeah. And then I tried to make all 3 jokes at once, and my brain was just like, "Yeah, right, kid." Yeah. And that's just what happened. So
that's what happened.
Yep.
Mac and I are learning just how difficult it is to prepare a sports program weekly, plus doing the trash talks while maintaining full-time jobs. It's my hat is off to all of the guys who do this because this is a lot of work. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
And we're married.
And we're married. Not to each other, obviously.
What?
We're not getting into that. Okay. We are in week 10. This is a family show.
Wasn't supposed to be where that went.
We're in week 10. But before we get into it, I want to remind everybody, the website is teamrivalry.com, and it looks like a lot of you have been there already. Really appreciate that. I hope you're enjoying the website and all the different stats and opportunity or options that are there to check out. There's going to be more coming. Got a lot of plans for the off season. Mac, where can they find us on the socials?
You can find us in counseling as we think over our lives and why we decided to do this to ourselves. You can also find us on Twitter at rivalryb1g. That's a capital B and a capital G and a capital R way at the beginning. You can also find us right here on the YouTube. Do not forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, maybe even leave a comment, and definitely ring the notification bell.
And now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, we can say whatever we want, which is apparently still just football. So
Michigan State sucks.
Not too much going on there.
Buckeyes are nuts.
Thank you. Buckeyes are nuts. That's mine. You can't use my joke.
I stole it. I don't care.
All right, fine. You can have it.
Thank you.
A big thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the YouTube channel already. Remember, we've got 100 spots open. Once those are gone, that's all you get.
That's how subscriptions work.
Right. Here we are. We're in November now. And it's an interesting time for football because it's almost like you'd think that November is when everything is supposed to ramp up and you're really sort of hitting the stride and all that. But this week is actually kind of the calm before the storm, I think. We've got no bye weeks this week. We are in full football mode. Everybody is playing a game. So we have 7 games to talk about today. We also have to talk about what happened after the Michigan State game last week. And I know all of the sports channels have covered this as they should. I just wanted to give my perspective on it. I think Mac wants to give his perspective on it. Being Michigan fans, we're not here to trash Michigan State. We're not here to say, I told you so. Not that we even would, because the issue that I wanted to talk about as far as this tunnel incident, and briefly, we're not going to show you any videos. I'm sure you've already seen them. They're out there. What I'm wondering about, what really concerns me about this incident is not the fact that the teams got rough with each other in the tunnel. That happens. Emotions are high after a game. They're all kind of just sort of wigging out after the game. And that happens all the time. Not to that extent, but just to them sort of knocking each other around, or maybe there's extra trash talk in the hallway. What I'm concerned about is, why is this happening? Why is it happening that these guys can't just play a football game and then after the game leave it on the field? What's going on in the leadership? And it's not just Michigan State. It happens at other schools too. but they don't seem to be able to just walk off the field and leave it on the field. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these are college kids that should be walking down that tunnel side by side, just sort of razzing each other, saying, "Oh, it was a good shot you had," or "That was a good play you had," or "Man, you really looked, ridiculous out there." And they should all be sort of laughing and joking about it, but they're not. We're at a point now where these teams are literally beating each other up after a loss. And I wish I was coming here with some answers on that. All I can say is that this is kind of what happens when too much money gets involved, when too much hype gets involved, when you take kids playing a game and turn it into a mega sport. I mean, we all love football. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We all love to see the game. We love the pageantry. We love the rivalries. Most in particular, we love the rivalries, most especially. If this is what's going to happen, something's got to change. It can't stay this way anymore. And I guess I just want to say, if there's any players out there watching this, if there's any coaches out there watching this, whether you're in college, high school, peewee, or whatever, make sure you're teaching these kids and make sure the kids know that this is a game. Yeah, we want to play to win. I'm not saying everybody wins. This isn't about participation trophies, but this is about being a good winner and a good loser. And we can't lose that aspect of the game. Otherwise, it's just not worth it anymore. And I hope this gets resolved quickly, and I hope things get back on track quickly so that we can get back to enjoying football, and these kids could get back to enjoying football. And that's what I have to say about it. Mac, did you have anything to say about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. Obviously, I think for me, it was just like the Michigan State rivalry, I think is a bigger rivalry to me than the Michigan Ohio State rivalry, just because that game's been more competitive in my lifetime than the Michigan Ohio State game until recently, obviously. What bothers me about it is that it's just that you don't really know where it came from. And to me, it really felt like the first time that politics or the problems that maybe we think are affecting society as a whole started to bleed into football. Football has never been free of political influence, or at least certainly not like within the last 10 years or so. And I'm not here to take sides or to push any narrative or anything like that, but there's clearly something going on nationally where people just feel kind of disconnected, aggressive. The word toxic has been thrown around quite a bit. And for me, watching those videos and stuff like that, it just made me feel like that was the first time that those issues in society have had a direct impact on football. And it was kind of jarring to see them go at it like that, not on the field. Not that it was a sort of traumatic thing. It was just, there's already so many changes going on in college football. Are we now going to have to deal with, the prospect of having to separate people because, you can't trust two people from different teams to walk down the same tunnel together. And it's not the tunnel's fault. They've had the tunnel for 90 some odd years, and this has only started recently. It's not any of that. It wasn't Jamon Green's fault. He always goes to sorry, I'm fixing my mic. He always goes to the tunnel early because his dad's a trucker and doesn't have a ton of time to see him due to his job. It was just out of the blue. There was no reason for it to happen. It just emotions boiled over and it just happened. So all of those things I said are concerns of mine, but I also I want to know what's going on systemically at Michigan State, that they've got players that think and 8 players have been suspended. So you've got almost almost half of almost an entire position group at that point has been suspended. They're not all from the same position group, but think of there's 11 players on a side. That's significant. Those 8 of them are suspended. So something from the top down seems to be kind of an issue at Michigan State. And if you watch Mel Tucker's press conferences, he doesn't look happy at all. And so I would just kind of like to know what in the world is going on that this rivalry I don't know that fun has necessarily ever been the right word to describe this rivalry, at least certainly not since D'Antonio took over. And yeah, a lot of it is because as Michigan fans, he beat us quite often and we don't like that, but respect where respect is due. But the rhetoric, the toxicity of the rhetoric, the childishness of it all has just made it not fun. And now this happens, and it's just, I don't like to watch highlights of the game because I know how it ends. So it's just not fun anymore. And yeah, anyway, to keep from rambling, I'll stop there. But
yeah. I think that's well said. And I think that's all we can say right now until they figure out what's happening. Like you said, there's 8 players suspended. The police are still involved. I think the one player has a lawyer involved.
Yep, Jamon Green hired a lawyer.
Yeah. All 8 guys that were suspended are all on defense, from what I understand. So that's not going to be good.
Yeah. Well, and where was that fight during the game? Why, like, if you have that much energy, I saw somebody on Twitter say that, I can't remember who, but if you have that much energy to fight after the game, why weren't you fighting during the game? I played 1 year of high school football, and it wasn't even for anything important. And it was like, how did they describe it? Division 7 or something. I didn't even see the field all that often, but after every single game, I was exhausted and sore as heck. Yeah. Like I wasn't about to get into fights.
Right.
So at the college level, how in the world are you playing 60 minutes of college football and have that much energy unless you don't care?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So moving on from that, the CFP is out. The college football playoff ranking system is out, and don't have too much to say about it other than for some reason Ohio State went up a notch and Michigan went down a notch, and we'll probably get into that when we talk about the games. The next thing to look at is, and I'm kind of excited about this one because the team rivalry top secret score predictor did pretty well, but we're going to look at our picks.
Picks. Do you have them? You do have them there. Awesome.
You have them there. They're all there.
Sweet. Yeah. So we both had a pretty awesome week, and I just want to take a second to gloat. I beat the algorithm.
You did.
By 3 points, though. So that algorithm's really starting to figure something out.
Yeah. I think this was the best week for both of us.
Yeah, we both had really good weeks. I think the best game that we called, though, I think was Ohio State over Penn State. And kind of funny thinking about that game with the fourth quarter barrage of points that was scored by both teams. And that's what brought us to within our calls. Yeah. It brought us so close.
That's true. Without that fourth quarter, we would have been way off.
Yeah, really.
So that worked out. What was it, 14-17? At the end of the third quarter, 16-17, somewhere in there.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I know Ohio State scored 28 points or something in the fourth quarter, and then Penn State I think had 14 points.
So yeah, I think it was actually more than that. But yeah,
maybe okay, yeah,
that was insane.
So yeah, that really worked out in our favor. Definitely should have bet the over on that one. Michigan State, surprisingly, we were a little bit off, mostly because Michigan settled for so many field goals, which we addressed in our 2 trash talk videos,
right?
Which were both fantastic. Iowa and Northwestern was a bit of a surprise just because Iowa finally figured out how to play offense.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Rutgers was pretty much where we expected it to be, although I expected Rutgers to at least get a touchdown. I thought that they could, have a little bit of fight in them. No.
No.
And then
They had nothing.
They had nothing. And then Illinois didn't score as much as I thought they would. Nebraska's defense isn't very good, but Nebraska's offense, which is actually pretty talented, only managed 9 points. So Illinois' defense is definitely proving to be the literal best in the nation at scoring defense. So good for them.
Good for them.
Yeah.
And we're looking overall. Ooh, wow, you're still beating me by quite a bit.
Well, it was those non-conference games.
Yeah, you look at that. We're up 200s, 300s, and then we started to come down 100s. And oh, well, you got down in the 90s there for 3 weeks in a row. I was still up in the hundreds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We haven't had a 100-point game since week 8. Nice.
Yeah. As far as picking the game winner, though, we're neck and neck.
Yeah.
I guess it's easier to pick the game winner than it is to pick the score.
I want to know which one that we called differently that I'm up one. We'll have to figure that out.
Well, weeks 2, 3, and 4, you beat me.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and you got 2 more than I did week 1. Huh, cool.
Yeah. Excuse me, my mouth is drying out. Or my throat. All right, so now we have our trivia question. It's trivia time. And I'm really, wow. Excuse me. This is what happens when it's live.
Some good TV right here.
The question this week is, since Northwestern and Ohio State play this week, when was the last time Northwestern beat Ohio State? And it wasn't as long ago as you might think. It's still a while ago.
Yeah, I'm guessing early 2000s.
Yeah. When I take a guess on the early 2000s? How early?
2000.
Excuse me.
2?
No, pretty close.
2004.
2004.
That was my first guess.
All right, now the follow-up question is a little bit more what you would be expecting. When was the time they won before that?
1942.
All right, don't go that far.
All right, 1962.
Oh, you're getting closer. You want one more guess?
1972.
Oh, 1971.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, it's something like I think it's the longest winning streak. Well, it's the longest winning streak for this week anyway.
Okay.
It's huge. I think it's something like 23 games. We'll get to it when we get to their game.
It's about every 30 years or so.
Yeah, something like that.
Jeez.
All right, our first game of the weekend is Iowa at Purdue. This is the 93rd meeting, and it is our oldest matchup without a trophy. The first game they played was October 22nd, 1910 at Iowa Field, and Iowa smoked the Boilermakers 16-0. Purdue leads the series, though, 50-39-3. Purdue holds the record for the longest winning streak in this series. They won 20 games in a row from 1961 to 1980. And this weekend, Purdue is favored by 3.5 points. So looking over their seasons, Iowa, of course, has been fairly erratic. Iowa needs 2 more games to have a 6-6 season, and I don't know what else to say about Iowa. They're inconsistent this year. Their offense finally started scoring points last weekend. If their offense shows up this weekend, they have a chance, I guess, to beat Purdue. I don't know if it's a good chance or not, but to me, Kirk Ferentz is starting to look like Lloyd Carr in those last couple of seasons. Lloyd Carr was a fantastic coach at Michigan, one of their winningest, but those last 2 seasons, he should have retired early, and he stayed on a little too long. I think Kirk Ferentz is in the same position. Mac, what do you see in this game this weekend?
Yeah, this is a hard one to start with because I'm not excited about either of these teams. I would have been excited about Purdue because they were supposed to win the West at one point. Of course, Minnesota was supposed to win the West, and now look where they are. I don't entirely know what to say about this game or Iowa. I mean, I don't I think Iowa needs to have like a serious look in the mirror moment. I don't really know how it's possible that Spencer Petras has 1,200 yards passing on the season. Just from looking at their offense, it looks like they can barely manage 1 or 2 yards forward. So I don't know how that works. Um, I think the only hope they have at maintaining the possibility of bowl eligibility is that Purdue's defense is really not good. So maybe that helps them pull off an upset here because, you know, if Iowa beats Purdue, that's an upset. But I mean, if they win this game, it's not going to be because Iowa suddenly figured out how to play offense. It's going to be because they were able to take advantage of a bad Purdue defense.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at who does Iowa have left? Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska.
Nebraska,
Yeah.
maybe.
On the other side of the equation, we've got Purdue. Purdue needs this game to stay up with Illinois. Like you said, that we thought that they had a shot at the West Division. I think they might still have a shot at it. They're not completely out of it yet. If they can stay with Illinois, they've got a chance, especially since they play Illinois next weekend. Jeff Brom in this case, he's Jeff Brom is actually at 26-26 for his career record. So he needs another game to have a winning record right now. Although he is 3-1 against Iowa. But what do you see for Purdue in this game?
It's weird knowing that Purdue has had so much success against Iowa. Like that's just bizarre to me. But okay. I mean
quite a bit actually.
Yeah, really. Just the fact that they own this series, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean it's like I said, Purdue's defense is not good. You know, they have a solid offense, they can score a lot. If they can't stop anybody though, it just simply doesn't matter. So I don't think for a second that this game is going to turn into a shootout. But I mean, if Purdue plays mistake-free football, which, you know, they don't, but if they did, then they could pretty much easily win this game. I mean, the problem is though, is that they've got, Purdue has 9 interceptions and 6 lost fumbles so far this season. So they turn the ball over quite a bit. They need to clean that up. Their game against Wisconsin was indicative of that. It was a game where Purdue led in total yards, time of possession, total first downs, but then also had 3 turnovers. Without those, Purdue is bowl eligible and looking a lot better in terms of the Big Ten title picture, but they did happen, so here we are.
Right. And let's see, unfortunately, what did I see here? Oh, Purdue is favored by the odds makers by 3.5 in this game. The team rivalry top secret score predictor is seeing it a different way. We've got Iowa 24, Purdue 17.
Ooh, all right. Well, this is going to be an interesting one for us because I myself have Purdue something 14-7.
All right. Our second game of the weekend is Minnesota at Nebraska. Nope, I forgot to advance the screen. Oh, we have a blank page. All right. Minnesota at Nebraska. Now, this one, there's a fun little situation going on over there in Minnesota and Nebraska. This is supposed to be the $5 bits of broken chair trophy game. Now, a little background. This is why this is so interesting. A little background on the broken chair. It's not a very old trophy. The Minnesota Nebraska rivalry goes back to its 63 games.
Sorry, I read ahead.
This started in 2014, and it was created by a Twitter exchange between a Twitter account that was the Gopher mascot. So Goldie the Gopher has his own Twitter account, and he is trolling a fake Bo Pelini account. Bo Pelini being the former coach of Nebraska. The bet was if Minnesota wins, Pelini gives them $5. If Nebraska wins, Goldie the Gopher gets to break a chair over Pelini's back. So either way, Minnesota wins. And that was kind of a stupid joke that became a trophy. And it's a fan-generated trophy. I don't think Goldie the Gopher has any pull with the team or anything. So I guess in 2016, the press was asking them about, who wants the trophy this year, and both coaches were like, what trophy? they don't care. They're disavowing it. They're letting it go. But I think it's kind of taken on a life of its own, because there's a place that has a $5 bits of broken chair fundraiser every year, and now I forgot what it was for. Anyway, it's a fundraiser, and they've been doing it every year, and apparently it's been growing every year. So I think the trophy might end up sticking around just because of that. We'll find out Saturday if they're even still talking about it. At any rate, this is the 63rd meeting between the Gophers and the Cornhuskers. Minnesota leads the series 35-25-2, which of course means Minnesota and Nebraska were playing even before Nebraska joined the Big Ten, significantly, like a significant series. Minnesota holds the record for the longest winning streak, 16 straight games from 1963 to 2012. So not consecutive years, obviously, but still. Minnesota is favored in this game by 16. Now, Minnesota, we thought originally would win the West Division because they were, for a while, the only undefeated team in the West. That ended in a 3-game slide. But if they could conceivably win out, looking at their upcoming schedule, if they did, they'd have a 9-3 season, which is respectable. That potentially could still win them the West Division, which means Illinois and Purdue cannot afford to lose a game either. So we've got what Minnesota, Purdue, and Illinois all have to win in order to win the division. Win out, I guess. They can't afford to lose anything at this point, although neither can Ohio State and Michigan on the east side. I don't see Minnesota having a problem with Nebraska this weekend, but they were also heavily favored against Purdue. Purdue, and they lost that game 20-10. What do you think, Mac?
See, I think that Minnesota's season is just about written in stone at this point. I think that's the saying. I mean, they need Purdue to take 2 more losses and Illinois to take 3 to have a shot at the title game. And I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. So at least that's how I did the math. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but whatever. That being said, though, I think Minnesota's long-term prospects are fine. And that's pretty much all I have to talk about, because they're 1 game away from bowl eligibility. They should get there. But they don't have a shot at the Big Ten championship anymore. So it's kind of bowl positioning at this point. But in terms of like their overall picture, they've kind of replaced Wisconsin as the will they, won't they team. They'll get bowl eligible, and they might even win out at this point because Iowa and Wisconsin aren't so good. And those are their 2 last games. Mm-hmm. Next year, they're bringing in a class full of 3-stars. And, that was really good when PJ Fleck was at Western Michigan, my alma mater. But the problem is now he's got to start figuring out a way to build a team that can eventually beat, Ohio State, Michigan, and at least make it to the Big Ten title game from the West Division. So as long as you miss Ohio State and Michigan from the East, then going undefeated in the West, it really shouldn't be this hard. It's never been anywhere near as competitive as the East, and Fleck's got to get this team in a place where they stop losing silly games like Purdue this year. They really shouldn't have lost to Purdue, and Bowling Green last year. That was just insane. So I don't know. This year, their season's pretty much wrapped up. I mean, they'll be fine. They'll get a decent bowl, but that's about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nebraska, on the other side of the equation, Nebraska actually allows more yards than they gain on average. I think Coach Joseph has to be looking at this season as extended practices. Since they're not going to get a bowl game, They're not going to get that extra 3 weeks of practice. I think he's looking at the rest of November as, let's get as many players in there as we can. Let's try whatever we can. Let's just build for next year. I'm pretty sure that's where he's at right now. Get these players some experience. Just get them out there. I mean, I'm sure they want to win. I'm not saying they don't want to win. I'm just saying, looking at their schedule, it's not likely they're going to. And that all, of course, is provided that Joseph even gets hired permanently. He's still the interim coach, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have the job permanently. What do you think?
I don't know where to start with the problems at Nebraska right now. I mean, they're basically in just that mode where it's like, let's just get through the rest of the season and worry about rebuilding next year. You know, I don't know if Joseph is going to be the guy to do that. It'll depend on how many games they can pull out the rest of the season. But I mean, obviously, I don't think that they're going to win this game. And then next week they have to go to Ann Arbor. So yeah, right. Like, I think bowl eligibility is off the table. So it's just whatever happens, it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, Joseph was left with nothing. So I mean, if he can pull a few wins out of it, that means he's pulling some wins out of the garbage dump that Frost left behind. So that's got to work in his favor, I would think.
See, I don't know. I thought like that was kind of the enigma of the Scott Frost era, was that I thought that he actually had some decent players. He just couldn't do anything with them.
Well, yeah, I don't mean the players necessarily. The players are fine. What I mean is the way they've been trained, the way they've been conditioned.
Culture.
Clearly the culture, it hasn't been good. And so now with Frost gone, at least Joseph has been able to affect the culture somewhat, so they're winning a little bit. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So what was the Minnesota is favored by 16. Okay, I've got him. The team rivalry top secret score predictor has a little bit better than that. I've got Minnesota 42, Nebraska 3.
Oh, no faith in the Nebraska offense.
No.
I love it. I myself am taking a team to win this game 42-3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty clear who I think is going to win this. So this bit doesn't work nearly as well as I was hoping it would. But I'm going to take a team to win 42-3. What team am I taking, you might ask? Not Nebraska.
Not Nebraska. We got 42-24 there.
Oh, crap. 42-24. Who did I say? 3?
I said 3, and then you just repeated what I said.
Oh my gosh, you're right. No, because you said 42, and I was like, oh, I have that too. Idiot.
What's the answer? 42.
42. It's always 42. Well, and I have another game that I was going to call something to 3 or whatever, and so I just got 3. Whatever.
All right.
Nebraska is not going to win. That's what this says right here. Okay.
Our next game for the weekend is Maryland at Wisconsin. This is the 4th meeting between Maryland and Wisconsin. Wisconsin leads this series by a staggering 3-0. And Wisconsin is favored in this game by 5. Now, Maryland became bowl eligible last week. They have no shot at the East Division, not when they're behind Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. So their main goal at this point is to get the best bowl they can, get some bowl position out of that. Wisconsin is favored in this game. I'm thinking cheese. That sounds like a cheese. Wisconsin is favored in this custard. Yeah. Wisconsin is favored in this game, so a win would look really good for Maryland since they're the underdogs. What do you think?
I think custard's ice cream, not cheese.
Yeah, but there's cheeses that end in -erd. Curd. Cheese curds.
Curd. That's it. That's what I was saying. Cheese curds.
Cheese curds.
10:30 on a weeknight. So anyway, yeah, my thoughts about Maryland is that they don't have nearly as good cheese as Wisconsin, and they've had a lot better of a football season so far. They have one good loss and then one kind of dumb loss. So they're still a pretty good team, but they need to clean up a couple of things. So let me run this down for you. First off, they allow 380 yards per game. Okay, that's the most of that is through the air. That's got to be tightened up against Wisconsin, especially because Graham Mertz is starting to light things up through the air. So that's good for him. The other thing is that they currently average, get this, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
75 yards a game in penalties.
Ouch.
75. Okay, you're not going
flag to throw.
Yeah. A yellow one. I was like, why? I was thinking white flags for a second.
Well, maybe.
White flag because we surrender. Bedtime's right after this. So, you're not going to win the games that matter by doing stuff like that. You know, you're on the road against an inexplicably resurging Wisconsin team. The last thing that you can do is set yourself back with stupid penalties. Now, if they play a clean game, then they have a shot. I think that they should win this game. They should, or they're already favored, or you said they're favored, right?
Yeah.
They are favored. Okay. So they should be favored considering these two teams are having vastly different seasons. But Wisconsin's finding some new life just a couple of games from a bowl bid. So Maryland's got to be smart in the way that they play.
So the other side of that equation then is Wisconsin. The last time Wisconsin, I looked this up. The last time Wisconsin was 4-4, which is what they are right now, was 2008. Since then, they've been the strongest team in the West Division. We fully expected them to strong arm the entire West Division again this year, but that didn't happen. Their November schedule looks favorable. I can see them winning 3 out of 4, maybe. They should get a decent bowl game, but they won't win the West Division this time. They're basically in 4th place in the West, if I'm doing my math correctly, which never quite understand how that ranking works. But anyway, Mac, what do you think? What do you expect from Wisconsin this weekend?
Divisions are confusing, but don't worry, they're going away next year or the year after, whatever. This game is very winnable for Wisconsin. So for pretty much all of the reasons that I said Maryland could lose. So the problem though is that Wisconsin's like really inconsistent. So it just depends on which Wisconsin team shows up. You know, is it the one that beat Purdue by taking care of the ball and picking apart their defense, or is it the one that turned the ball over twice against a very bad Michigan State team and lost in double OT? It depends on which Wisconsin team shows up.
The Team Ravelry top secret score predictor has Wisconsin 35, Maryland 14. What do you got?
Not that. I think you're utterly ridiculous. You can take your score predictor secret machine algorithm thingy and shove it. Ooh. Hurdles 31-21. I can't read backwards.
All right. Well, that's not too far off. Oh, well, you got Maryland.
I've got Maryland doing that.
You've got Maryland. All right, that's fine.
You've got the complete opposite going on here.
All right, as we've said many times, we are using the free Zoom call, and we are about to run out of time on this one, so we will be right back. And we're back. It's that time of the year when throats are scratchy and noses are runny, and running out of Zoom time helps.
Yay.
Yay.
Hooray for free trials.
Yeah. Our next game, let's see, this is game 4 for the weekend is, as you can see, you see actually? I forgot to ask you if it's showing up.
Yeah, I can see it.
It is showing up. All right.
It is showing up.
It is number 15, Penn State against number 0, Indiana. And that is number 15 on the CFP. They moved up one from their AP slot, which was 16, which is probably appropriate for Penn State. This is the 27th meeting between Penn State and Indiana. Penn State leads the series 24-2.
Ooh.
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 The longest winning streak was Penn State, 17 games from 1993 to 2012, and Penn State is favored by 14 points in this game. Penn State is on a bit of a roller coaster ride. Last weekend, they had a shot at Ohio State. As we talked about already, I think they were within a field goal of Ohio State all the way through the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, they just quit. I don't know what happened, but both Ohio State and Penn State scored more points in the fourth quarter than the previous three, and Ohio State just ran away with it. Penn State's defense apparently forgot about the fourth quarter. Although, to be fair, Ohio State's defense wasn't far off, or was kind of off their game in the fourth as well, because they allowed quite a lot of points from Michigan or from Penn State. Penn State has now lost to both Ohio State and Michigan, so the East Division is probably off the table for them, although they'll probably hold on to third place and get a really good bowl position. Indiana really shouldn't be a problem for them, I don't think. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think. Wow, whoops, excuse me. I don't think Indiana is going to be a problem for them either. I fully expect Penn State to be in a New Year's Six game, just especially because I believe that they're going to win out. You look at their schedule, I don't know how they lose any of their remaining games, unless, of course, something truly tragic happens to them. And yeah, I mean, that gives away my pick for this game. But I'm gonna touch on this a little bit more later. But Penn State led in every statistical category against the Buckeyes except for two. Okay. Turnovers and the score were the only two statistical categories.
Nothing important, really.
Nothing important. No. If they had played a clean game, they probably beat Ohio State. And the whole Big Ten picture is totally flipped. So it's unfortunate that they didn't, because their title hopes are now pretty much gone at this point, just given the way Ohio State and Michigan are playing. And that's, I think, a shame, because James Franklin, I think, had all of the pieces that he needed to do something special this year. But, the big game losses are starting to pile up for Franklin, which to me says that he needs to figure out some sort of change in strategy. At least if he just wants Penn State to be relevant going into November, which I don't know why he wouldn't, but I think he needs to start rethinking some things.
Yeah. On the other side of the equation is Indiana, and I don't know if there's anything even to say about Indiana. They have lost 5 in a row, and I still think Tom Allen will be looking for a new job next year. And that's all I have to say.
When did he get hired? 2019? 2018. He's only been there a couple of years.
I think it's been more than a couple. I think it was
3 or 4.
I will look it up.
Okay, well, you look it up. I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on Indiana. It'll go kind of quick, because I haven't paid attention to Indiana since the Michigan game, actually. I'm really not sure what happened between that amazing season they had in 2020 and this year, that the Hoosiers were so close to a championship game appearance, and now they're fighting to stay out of last place with Michigan State in the Big Ten, at least the West Division, or East Division. Whoops. It just doesn't make sense. They're not going to beat Penn State. They've got Ohio State after that, and then Michigan State, which, maybe they win that game. I don't know. Then it's Purdue.
Who knows at this point?
Yeah, really. There's a real chance that Indiana doesn't win another game, and they just lost their best receiver, Cam Camper, for the season with a torn ACL, which that super sucks for him. So sorry to hear that. But insult meet injury, I guess, salt meet wound, and Indiana's not going to win another game this season.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think they're pretty much toast.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Allen was looking for a new job. It was 2017 was when he became coach.
Oh, yeah, he's been there a few years now.
Yeah. So the team rivalry top secret score predictor is pretty predictable on this one. Penn State 45, Indiana 7.
I hear that. I do hear that. I, for whatever reason, like to think that Indiana is going to score at least once more than that, probably in garbage time. That being said, I do have a soft spot in my heart for Sean Clifford. I firmly believe that he deserved so much better than James Franklin as his head coach. No disrespect, James Franklin, but like I said, you can't beat the good teams for some reason. So give me Sean Clifford and his friends 38-14.
All right.
Yeah.
Our next game is Michigan State at Illinois, number 16 Illinois. And this deserves a bit of a celebration because this is Illinois' very first appearance on the CFP. So
Yay!
Something good is happening over there. Yeah, let's a big round of applause for Belima.
Good job.
This is the 48th meeting between Michigan State and Illinois. Michigan State leads the series 26-19-2. Illinois has won the last two. Looking at the stats and the history of these two teams, they're not much different, to be honest. They seem to be very similar in what they've done over the last 50 years. In this case, Illinois is favored by 17. And I don't know how much of that is factored in from what transpired last weekend with the loss of 8 players, but nevertheless, Illinois is charging forward, and they're favored by 17 in this game. Now, Michigan State, we talked about them a little bit in the opening. 8 defensive players have been suspended, although from what I could tell, it sounds like Jacoby Windman may be the only key player of the 8. I hate to discount the other 7 players, but the only one anybody's talking about is Jacoby Windham or Windman.
Windman, yeah.
So if he's the only real standout player, it sort of thins out the bench, but maybe it doesn't hurt Michigan State's game as much as we might think. I do think that Michigan State is probably in panic mode. I'm guessing they're having a hard time talking about anything else except what happened in the tunnel, which is going to disrupt practice, which is mean they aren't going to be ready for this game. They've only got 3 wins on the season. They need to make a statement with this game after what happened last weekend because they need to prove that they can overcome adversity, even if it's self-inflicted. But I don't think Belima is going to let that happen. I think Belima is on a roll. And, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to start talking about Illinois because they excite me way more than having any thought on Michigan State right now. But all right, I'm going to go kind of hard on Michigan State here. Michigan State is lucky to have even 3 wins thus far. I honestly don't think it would matter if they had 0. Michigan State sunk to a whole new level of bad against Michigan. We talked about, or I think we're going to talk about Michigan's troubles in the red zone. They hit field goal after field goal. It was still enough to beat Michigan State by 3 scores, which is just crazy. I'm not sure a team has ever imploded quite this much after going 11-2 last season with a New Year's Six Bowl win. And, obviously having a running back who was shafted out of a trip to New York. I mean, he should have gone to New York for the Heisman Trophy. They're not going to beat Illinois. Illinois is going to get 3 in a row. Michigan State does not have a consistent running attack, and Illinois is one of the best at defending that. So Peyton Thorne will have to use his arm a lot, which makes them vulnerable to turnovers, and Thorne's got 8 of those, including a backbreaker against Michigan, just when they seem to finally get something figured out on offense in that game. So things just really do not look good for Mel Tucker right now at all.
Yeah. The other side of the equation is Illinois. Illinois hasn't been 7-1 since 2001. They're only 1 game behind Michigan and Ohio State, which I thought was pretty interesting because right now Michigan and Ohio State are 8-0. Illinois is 7-1. You would think there would be a wider gap. I mean, Penn State is 6-2, and they're a higher ranked team than Illinois. Belima's really got something special going on over there at Illinois. This has been a great season. They've got a solid handle on winning the West Division at this point. Going to the Big Ten championship would be another first for this team. So, like you said, Illinois excites me more than any other team in the West Division right now. I'm rooting for them in this game. And not just because they're playing against Michigan State, but because something really cool is happening there. They're working hard. They're winning. They're doing things Illinois hasn't done before, or at least in a long time. And I think they have all of the momentum. Plus, it's a home game. So I think the real question is the 17-point spread too low?
Well, you'll find out when I make my call. So I'll just leave it here. Talk about the surprise of the Big Ten, and they're not doing it with like a reckless, high-flying, gung-ho offense. They're doing it by playing incredibly well on defense. So they are currently the number one defense in the nation in points allowed at just 8.9 per game. Offensively, they're actually underachieving just a little bit. They're only averaging 26 points per game. And I say it's underachieving because if you look at the amount of yards they put up per game, 409, you'd think that they'd probably score a lot more points. At least that's how I would think. Obviously, Michigan proved that with even just scoring field goal after field goal, you can still crush Michigan State. So I don't know whether or not that'll matter with Illinois this particular game. But that being said, barring any sort of a slip up, that's almost certainly not going to happen. They're going to be playing for the West Division title next week against Purdue. So this is an interesting couple of games coming up for Illinois, and that's just really exciting for them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah.
The team rivalry top secret score predictor also believes in Illinois. Illinois 35. Oop, that way. Michigan State 3.
Oh, wow.
Who needs special effects? Let's just do this.
I like the little Sputnik beep you did there for a second, too.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, never mind.
I couldn't think of any funny names to come up with for Illinois because I just kind of ran out of brain power after Sean Clifford and his friends. So, but I do think that they're going to win a blowout. I'm taking the Illini 45-14.
All right.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom. Our next game, Michigan, go blue. Number 5, Michigan at Rutgers, and this is the big controversy. Why has Michigan dropped a level or dropped a point, and Ohio State went up a point? I don't know. I can't explain it, but if Michigan beats Ohio State at the end of this month, that'll all change, I'm sure. This is the 9th meeting between Michigan and Rutgers. Michigan leads the series 7-1, and Michigan has won the last 7. Which means, well, I'll get to that in a second, but Michigan is favored by 26, which, until we get to the Ohio State game, is the largest or widest spread. The most points given, favored by any team.
The largest absolute value number.
Yes.
For a game.
Now we have to think back to when Rutgers joined the Big Ten in 2014. That was Brady Hoke's last season. Michigan was 2-3 going into that game. I think the writing was on the wall for Hoke that Michigan had been, believe it or not, Michigan was in an upward trend with Rich Rod, even though Rich Rod gave Michigan their worst season ever. They still were in an upward trend because they kept winning more games each season, but they fired Rich Rod after 3 seasons. They brought in Hoke, and Hoke shot him to a big height of 10 games that first season, and then went steadily down, and to where we get to the Rutgers game in his last season, which they lost, which was the very first time Michigan and Rutgers played. They lost, but Michigan hasn't lost to Rutgers since, thanks to Jim Harbaugh. They haven't lost. Oh, that was the other part too, is they lost to Maryland in Hoke's first year too. Rutgers and Maryland joined the Big Ten the same year. Michigan lost to both of them, and they haven't lost to either of them since.
Thanks, Hoke.
Yeah. How However, even though Michigan looks like this game at this point should be just a slam dunk, a home run, if you will, to mix my sports metaphors completely.
Top shelf.
This is a trap game, and this is the biggest of trap games because Rutgers has nothing to lose at all. If they win this game, it's celebrations all over the state of New Jersey. If they lose this game, people will probably not even know that they were playing. So, Mac, to use our favorite phrase, how does Michigan avoid getting app-stated again?
Oh, come on. App-stated?
Yes.
Do we need to give that any more credence by turning it into a verb?
We do.
Or adverb?
I'm going to mention it often because they should not have lost that game.
Well, duh. It was 15 years ago. Jeez. Everybody needs to calm down, eat some fruit or something.
Right here.
All right. Well, I'm just going to put it to you this way. This is not a trap game. Rutgers is not very good. Michigan's a lot better.
That's what makes it a trap game.
I see your point. Yeah, that's a good point. But it's not a trap game. Michigan's not going to lose. On my notes, though, I have the word red zone 3 times. So I'm just going to say that real quick. Red zone, red zone, red zone. And you know what? I'll say it 3 more times just to get my point across. Red zone, red zone, red zone.
I don't even know what that is or why it's necessary.
It's not.
When you can win games by going over it, why do you need to be in it?
You know, that's fine. You can go over it as long as like the ball ends up in the end zone, but then in the end zone you got a receiver and he catches it when the ball goes over the red zone. Okay? Does that make sense? That would be like a 21-yard passing touchdown.
Passing touchdown.
So that's fine. Go over the red zone. That's fine. But a lot of times.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I meant to say end zone. The red zone is fine. But you're saying that when they get to the red zone, they should then proceed to the end zone.
Yes.
But you don't need to if you can go over the end zone and still win the game. The end zone is overrated. I think Michigan has proven that. Aaron,
no, you're right. You're right. The end zone is overrated. I don't know why teams try and score touchdowns. So I'm just going to pretend that I have points to make. So I'm gonna make my points real quick. Field goals are fine in some circumstances. Apparently, to you, every circumstance, that's fine. But sometimes you have to finish drives in the end zone. You know, because you get more points doing that. It's like double the field goal. It's great. Michigan is averaging almost 500 yards of offense a game right now, which is crazy considering who the coach is. They also average more yards rushing than they do passing, which is not crazy considering who the coach is. It also tells you where their priorities lie, and that's clearly not with the red zone, but that's fine. When you get into the red zone, though, and you know, teams know that you want to just punch it in on the ground, they're going to start stacking the box. They're going to defend against the run, and you've got to have a plan B for that. You know, especially if you want to play teams or beat teams that score just as well as you can most of the time. I think Rutgers actually presents an interesting challenge in that way because they're actually not terrible against the run. And they may only, or wait a minute, hold on. And they only allow 17 more yards passing per game than Michigan does. So pretty similar passing defenses there. So not awful. Michigan has a chance here to figure out some red zone strategy against an okay defense. The problem is, well, and that's all due respect to Rutgers. The problem is with your silly little trap game theory is that Michigan has so much more talent. And when you say Rutgers has nothing to lose, the opposite side of that is that Rutgers has already lost everything. So why bother?
Sure. But that's why trap games become so dangerous, because if the other team has nothing to lose, they stop playing conservatively and they're just like, oh, who cares? Just go out there and do something. And that throws the other team off. And you end up doing some damage.
No, but
Honestly,
they go out there, they play recklessly, they make mistakes. Michigan capitalizes on that. This game's going to end 78-0, just like 2016 did.
Speaking of the other side of the ball here,
That's not my official call.
Rutgers. We were cheering for Rutgers at the beginning of the season because they came on strong and it looked like they were going to have. Yeah, we were.
What?
We were happy with them.
All right.
They were doing something. It looked like they might actually achieve something.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But they fell apart and into multiple pieces. But they did beat Indiana, so there's that. I think at this point it's pretty clear, though, as we've said, Rutgers has reached a ceiling. If they do happen to catch Michigan off guard, maybe they score an extra touchdown. But I'm kind of with you. I don't think they'll actually do anything. I think Michigan's going to roll them over. But tell me about Rutgers.
You've never been more wrong in your entire life.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah, so okay, the rebuild at Rutgers, because you're right, they had a good opening to the season. That's great for them. The rebuild, though, under Greg Schiano Part 2 is going to take quite some time this time, I think. It's not like they're awful per se. It's just that they can't finish games. Okay, take away the turnovers, and Rutgers is basically, or suddenly is the word I've got here. Suddenly they're back in the Iowa game, say, for instance. Good gracious me, this is a train wreck. Against they were back. They would have been back in the Iowa game had they not turned the ball over so many times. If they had not allowed Iowa's defense to score 2 touchdowns against them, they might have actually even won that game. Who knows? Against, and I've got a note here saying against somebody they were never exactly playing well, but at least, oh yeah, okay, that's what I was saying. So the following week, I think it was when they played Nebraska, or whenever they played Nebraska, they weren't exactly playing great in that game, but at least in that game, Nebraska couldn't move the ball until the second half. So Rutgers then, at that point, started turning the ball over. They turned the ball over 3 times and gave Nebraska, score after score on a scarlet platter at that point? Like, that game shouldn't have been a loss. If they would just clean some things up, then they are suddenly in a much different position. But that's kind of the problem with some of these teams that are struggling, is that they're not playing fundamentally sound football. I talked about Purdue. We've been talking about Indiana. We've been talking about Michigan State. Michigan State's just not good all around, but they don't play fundamentally sound football either. That's a symptom of that. Rutgers is another one of those teams that's following this trend. They would beat better teams if they played more fundamentally sound football. And right now they're just not.
Yeah, I agree. So putting it through the team rivalry score predictor, top secret team rivalry score predictor. I actually think this one's going to be kind of low, but here we go. Michigan 38, Rutgers 0. I'm kind of interested that it came up with 38, although that goes along with the theory that Michigan doesn't necessarily like to run up the score. But I honestly think Michigan will score a lot more than that.
2016, Jabril Peppers just called. He wants to talk to you. Oh, wait, he can't talk. He's busy scoring another touchdown.
Another touchdown.
I'm calling Michigan 56-7.
Oh, you're giving them 7, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a cover my butt kind of move for the score thing that we're doing. That's all that is. I don't expect them to score any points. On the off chance they do, though.
Yep. Now, the bonus game here is maybe doesn't matter, but I just kind of threw it on there, is the Clemson at Notre Dame game. The reason I threw that on there is because if Notre Dame beats Clemson, then that switches, that works in Michigan's favor because Clemson is number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So if Notre Dame beats Clemson, that would knock Clemson down. But, and I forgot who I was listening to today. They were saying, don't even worry about that because Michigan's going to beat Ohio State. So, Anything you want to say with regards to the Clemson Notre Dame game?
Honestly, whoever that guy is, I would have said the same thing. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about this game if Michigan just wins out, because
that's true. Yeah.
12-0 Michigan Big Ten champion, they're not missing the playoffs.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Our last game of the weekend is number 2, Ohio State at number 0 Northwestern. And let me get over here. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I see. I missed some notes there. All right. This is the 80th meeting between Ohio State and Northwestern, a long-time rivalry game a long-time matchup without a rivalry. Ohio State leads the series 64-14-1.
Ouch.
The longest winning streak, and this is the longest winning streak of the games this weekend, is Ohio State with 24 games in a row. That's almost 2.5 decades without a win. 1972 to 2003. You talk about droughts. That's a long one.
Yeah.
And Ohio State is favored by 38 points this game. It is also the largest point spread of the weekend. I mean, 38 points. It's like they're playing a high school team. I don't know where you start with it. I don't know what Northwestern's thinking right now.
Bring an extra change of underwear.
Yeah, trying to figure out how they can forfeit without looking too ridiculous.
COVID.
We got COVID.
Oh man.
So every season, I want to say that Ohio State is really, really not as good as they look. And every year they steamroll team after team. Penn State was their worst game because they allowed 31 points, which is 21 points more than Michigan allowed, I would like to point out. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the stats are. It doesn't matter who they play. Ohio State bludgeons their opponents into oblivion, and Northwestern is in the way right now. And that's just a fact. Northwestern just has the unpleasant reality of being in the way of Ohio State as they're proceeding towards their goal. The only thing I really want to know about this game is, will Ryan Day keep his first stringers in the whole game like he has before?
Yeah, probably. Why not? No, I don't know. If he does or doesn't, I don't know. I'm just gonna start off what I'm gonna say though with this. Ohio State's going to win this game, obviously. We all know that.
Yeah.
So I want to instead talk about their game against Penn State, because that's far more interesting. It illustrates something that I've been talking about all season long at this point. So let's lay this out there. The Buckeyes are a solid football team. They're very good, but their defense has problems. I've talked before about how Toledo burned Ohio State's secondary a couple of times. Wisconsin even did it. Penn State did it a couple of times and actually got touchdowns out of it. Penn State had passing touchdowns of 58 and 23 yards, which weren't even as long as Toledo's passing touchdowns of 75 yards and 50 yards. I think the second one was 50, but whatever. So Sean Clifford put up 371 yards of passing against the Buckeyes. That's a 300+ yard game against Ohio State. Okay. But also Penn State led in time of possession. Not by much, but they still did. They also led in first downs. Again, not by much. They also led in total yards. Again, not by much. Which is to say that Penn State was just as good as Ohio State on Saturday in all but 2 statistical areas, which we mentioned before, turnovers and the scoreboard. Ohio State won because they didn't make mistakes. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't give Penn State a short field. They also had a huge defensive performance by JT Tuiamoloau. I practiced it earlier. I had it. JT Tuimoloau. That's it.
Tuimoloau?
That's the one.
All right.
JT Tuimoloau. Ha, yes. But this is the point. Ohio State has to clean up the defensive mistakes. They've got to get more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Sean Clifford's a good quarterback, but they've got even better quarterbacks coming with even better receivers left on their schedule, and that could potentially be a problem.
Okay, against Northwestern?
No.
No.
No offense.
No
Northwestern.
offense. Well, okay, so as we've said, so the other side of that equation is Northwestern, and I don't know what to say about Northwestern except they're going to go 1-8 after this game. They beat Nebraska game 1. They've lost every game since. They've got nothing left. I don't know. I know we've talked about it before, and I think Pat Fitzgerald is going to be one of the other coaches that gets fired this year. You were thinking that he might be okay because they know what to expect from him. But what do you think is going to happen in this game for Northwestern?
I mean, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose by a lot. And my official call illustrates that. But I will say that I was looking at Northwestern's 2023 recruiting class earlier. And Northwestern is actually bringing in the number 4 class in the Big Ten in 2023.
All right.
Yeah. They are ranked number 28 nationally. So they actually have a really, really good incoming class. They dropped a spot, but it's still in really good position. So as long as they don't do anything stupid like fire Pat Fitzgerald, they could be good next year. And they could even be a team that, surprises you, maybe even makes a run for the Big Ten title game. They've done it before. They've done it twice. So who knows?
Who knows? I just remembered I'll have to go back and rewatch your video. Northwestern, was it Northwestern maybe onto something?
Yeah.
That was way back before the season even started. You made that video.
Yep.
And I think, you were talking about their 2023 season.
Yeah, I think I even said in that video, not this season, next season. That's crazy how right I am.
We'll put a link to that video in the show notes.
All right.
Don't forget this time.
I got to remember that now too. Jeez.
Write it down. Write it down.
I just do thing.
The top secret team rivalry score predictor is a little low on this one too. Maybe I have too much fourth quarter drop off, but we have Ohio State 46, Northwestern 3.
Wow, that is really low.
That's one field goal for you Michigan fans.
Just one. All right. Well, I'm picking a team to win. Which team, you ask? This is my response. Can you see?
I can't see it. LOL?
Oh, yeah, it's backwards. LOL, Ohio State, 63-0.
Nice.
Lols.
It's one of those games. I feel bad for Northwestern. I honestly, it reminds me of that old Bill Cosby skit with the guys with the ice shoe and the snow, or the ice skates and the snowshoes. We don't want to play the coach.
Yeah. Just imagine if Northwestern wins this game, though. Because
that would be tremendous.
What was that you were saying earlier? A trap game?
Trap game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mention trap games on Ohio State because it just never seems to happen. I don't know how they do it year after year, but I don't know. Maybe this is the game that'll turn that all around. Who knows?
Northwestern's going to have a Rudy moment. Nope, sorry, a miracle moment.
Miracle
miracle on ice moment.
That's right. They didn't play Rudy until the game was already in garbage time.
Poor Rudy.
Poor Rudy. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us for this week. If you have a different opinion or if you just want to tell us what you're thinking about these games, please leave a comment, subscribe, like, share, tell everybody you know, hit all the buttons, hit the bell, hit the notification button. We want to hear from you. We love to hear what you guys think about these games and what you think about what we think. Mac, any parting thoughts for the viewers?
Don't use a football helmet as a weapon. That's very rude. And go to bed.
It is late for us here. We got a late start tonight.
Yeah.
Have fun this weekend. Enjoy the football. It is a game. It is supposed to be fun. Do not let it turn into something ugly.
Don't punch somebody.
Mac, take us out.
Don't punch multiple people. Also, this is Team Rivalry.